Welcome to another digital marketing lesson. This time we will explore the search engine optimization industry. In particular, I will teach you how to create custom JSON-LD schema markups. I'll explain to you what schema markups are, what rich snippets are. I'll show you free schema markup generators, how to use schema.org, and then we will start a workshop, a tutorial where I show you exactly how to understand, how I understood the syntax of JSON-LD and how I learn to create structured data with JSON-LD. This will be a very long video, so you can use the table of contents in the description below to jump from one chapter to another. Let's start from the beginning. What are schema markups? Schema markups were invented by Google, Microsoft, Bing and Yandex in 2011 when they created a common vocabulary for structured data. In other words, schema markups provide context for web pages. They help search engines to interpret better web pages. And if you want to read this vocabulary, you have to go on schema.org, which represents the website with all the reference documentation about schemas. To help you understand what schema markups do, I start with this image about representation and presentation in coding. So as you can see, web users' experience depends on the relationship between data representation and presentation. For example, HTML tags are data representation. So when you write HTML tags in your website code, you are telling browsers how to display information on the page. The problem is that HTML tags don't give any additional information on what a text string is. For example, if I write an H1 HTML tag schema markup SEO guide, I'm telling browsers to display the text string schema markup SEO guide in a heading 1 format. But schema markup SEO guide can be a title of a blog post or the title of a book that you can actually purchase. So how can search engines understand the context of a web page, of the content within a web page? They use schema structured data. If you are watching this video, probably you know already why they are important for SEO or search engine optimization. But if you want to deepen more this topic, read the article related to this video that I've linked in the description below, and over there I explain you, I show you statistics and all the reasons why schema markups are important for search engine optimization. And I also show you why in this tutorial I will only focus on JSON-LD, which is one of the languages that you can use to write this structured data, because Google recommends using JSON-LD for your schema markups. The second concept that you need to understand before actually writing schema markups is rich snippets. Rich snippets or rich results are simple search results, but they have additional information displayed. Basically, search engines use information retrieved from the schema markups that we have on our website to create these snippets of additional information for search results. If you look at this image, it represents an example of a Google SERP, search engine result page, without rich results. But if you look at this other example, it represents a search result with a rich snippet. And in this case, the rich snippet is represented by a list of FAQs, because the landing page has the FAQ page schema markup installed. I'll explain you what a FAQ page schema markup is later, but what I want to show you is the difference between a page that doesn't have schemas with a page that has them. Rich snippets are the results of schema markups. So if you ask me to help you add the rich snippets on your website, you are making a mistake. You want me to help you add schema markups on your website in order to generate rich snippets. Rich snippets are very important for content marketing and SEO too, because they boost CTR, organic CTR, organic click-through rate. Organic in marketing means free. It represents the percentage of users that click on your search result. It is well known, and if you read the sources that I've inserted in my blog article, you will understand that CTR is one of the 200 ranking factors that rank Brain, the AI of Google, uses to index content in the SERP. Rich snippets are not always good. In fact, they have a drawback represented by zero-click searches. Sometimes Google uses rich snippets to match and satisfy users' intent without the need of clicking any search results. In 2018, Rand Fishkin discovered that organic CTR has dropped to 47.4%. In the first quarter of 2019, 48.96% of all US Google searches ended without a click. And Google even doesn't need schema markups to display rich results, because it just pulls information from your web page, re-elaborates it, and uses what Fishkin called aggressive SERP features or instant answers. Now that you know everything about schema markups and rich snippets, you can start creating your own structured data. In this video, I will go very fast with the free tools that you can use. I explain them deeply in the blog article. However, one tool that I like to use is schema markup generator JSON-LD by Markups, which is free, and it provides standard and the most popular schema markups. But of course, if you want something more personalized, you need to follow the workshop that I've inserted in this video, where I explain you how to code actually your own schema markups in JSON-LD. Another amazing tool that you can use for a website that you don't own or for which you don't have access is Structured Data Markup Helper by Google. It allows you to visualize a web page and tag each element with a special editor. Once you're done tagging, Google will automatically generate the JSON-LD code that you will insert in your website. The third tool that I suggest is Data Highlighter by Google. It is like the previous one, but the difference is that it is a tool within Google Search Console, and you need to use it if you own the website or if you have access to that website. Google instead then generating the JSON-LD that you can copy and paste, it actually writes the code directly into your website. So you will not have a button which says download, but you will have a button which says publish. In other words, you have the same editor of Structured Data Markup Helper of Google, but in this case you will be able to publish directly the changes into your website. Now, from the theory to practice, I will share with you the screen so you can follow my step-by-step workshop on how to write JSON-LD markups. Here we are in schema.org homepage. Before you start writing JSON-LD snippets, you need to understand how to read and interpret the references and documentation on this website. The first step is to pick a schema markup application, and you can find them listed in this page. So click on the button schemas in the header of the page. When you land on this page, you will see different options. you can just pick one of the most commonly used schema markup applications, or if you don't know what to use, you can just select a schema application from the full list of schema structured data that you can find on schema.org. Another option, if you already know the name of the schema you want to insert in your website, is to use the search bar on the top of the website. Let's say organization, if you want to insert the organization schema markup, and here is the link to the reference page. How can you know what the schema markup application insert in your website? Well, you have two choices. You can learn the full list of schemas, or when you see a rich snippet in the search results page that you would like to have for your website, you add that specific markup application. Just to show you some of them, if you see a star rating like this, it means that the owner of the website installed a review markup, which displays a star rating with a scale from 1 to 5 that can represent a single reviewer or an average of multiple users' reviews, which is called aggregate rating. Product markup, it gives information about a certain product and includes images, price, and availability. Recipe markup, it displays information about the time to prepare a dish, reviews, and the recipe images. Event markup, it shows event dates, times, location, and more. Organization markup, it helps search engines understand the key information about a business like address, logo, and contacts. Music markup, it helps Google index music by providing info on genre, album, release dates, lyrics, and so on. Video markup, search engines can't understand images, so they need structured data to interpret videos. Top stories markup, it gives a website the opportunity of appearing in the top stories box in the search results, and it only applies to Google News approved websites. Now let's go back to a reference page on schema.org. Here you find a table with 3 columns. The first column represents a list of properties that you can use to describe the main application. So basically you add properties to help Google contextualize and understand, in this example, your business. Your organization represents your business. But if you have a review markup, properties are needed to contextualize the reviews, and so on for the other type of applications. In fact, here you can see the address. So you explain to Google where your organization is located. You can add the email of your organization, some important employees or events, who is the founder of the organization, and so on. The second column of the table represents the expected types, which they can be considered a subcategory or a sub-property. For example, for the property address, you have the expected type postal address and the text. In this case, you can just write the physical address of your organization, or you can further specify the property address with the type postal address. In fact, if you click on postal address, you land on another reference page built in the same way with all the properties that you can add to specify the type postal address. You should always use a special expected type when possible, because you can provide to Google additional information useful to contextualize the main application, in this case organization. The third column represents the description of the expected type and the property. So here you find useful information on how to interpret the expected type. For example, if you need to use international standard languages, you find useful links where you can find the related references and so on. Other two interesting points that I wanted to show you about the schema.org are at the bottom of the page. So sometimes some applications, some schema applications have specific types. So for example, an organization represents a business, but a business can be a local business, a corporation, an NGO, or a governative business. You can find all of these specific types at the bottom of the page. You see this list, more specific types, represent more specific types of organizations. So for example, NGO, local business, corporation, airline, and so on. If you want to see the specific documentation, let's say that you have an airline business, you open the tab and here you have the specific documentation for the schema markup application airline. At the end of each documentation page, you also have a list of examples, and they are useful to start with your JSON-LD code. Schema.org offers 3 types of example: in microdata, RDFA, and JSON-LD. Here you can find user information, and you can see how other people or organizations use the schema application that you are looking for. You can just copy the code, paste it on your document, and edit the information according to your needs. Now that you know how to move within schema.org, it's now time to understand the syntax of JSON-LD. Let's start with curly braces. In between the opening and closing script tag, you find an open and closed curly brace. Structured data will be inserted in between these 2 curly braces. As you write your markup, you'll probably add more curly braces. To keep things from getting too confusing, use indentation. Remember that for each open brace, you must have a closed one. Schema type, @type, specifies the item type being marked up. You use it at the beginning of the script when you state the type of the application, and every time you need to add an expected type, an item from the second column of a schema.org reference page, to be clear. Quotation marks. Whenever you call a schema type, a property, or fill in a field, you need to enclose the information in quotation marks. Colons. Whenever you call a type or property, you need a colon to continue input information. In other words, colons are a field separator. Commas. Imagine this code as a list of elements and, as every list requires, you need to place a comma after each element. As you can see from this code snippet, after the informational field for the logo property there is no comma, because it's the last element and there is no additional information to be stated. Brackets. Use brackets whenever you include a property with more than one item or entry. This is also called array. As you can see in this snippet, the property same as includes my social media channels in brackets. If I had only one social media profile, I would have listed just one URL without brackets. Note that after my Twitter profile there is no comma, because it is the last element within the brackets. If there was another property after same as, I would have placed a comma after the closed bracket. Inner curly braces. Use inner curly braces every time a property has an expected type. See the second column of a schema.org reference page. As you can see from this image, the expected type is written in the second column. Click on the expected type link to view its reference page. Now, I know that all of this can be confusing, but let's put it into practice and start our workshop. I will use the schema markup of organization. I will not insert all the possible properties, but I will insert some of them, maybe the most popular ones, just for the sake of this tutorial. So I want that you learn how to write autonomously properties and expected type and other JSON-LD information. For this workshop, I will use a simple NotePad document. If you have a Macintosh, you can use a TextEdit. TextEdit is the same of NotePad for Windows. You don't need fancy software or fancy developing tools. We will just write JSON-LD without indentation. The first step is equal every time. You have to open the schema markup application. To do it, you use the same code every time. If you forget it or if you need help, you just scroll down the page. At the bottom, you pick a random example, click on JSON-LD, and you just copy and paste the first 3 lines. So script type and context. You copy and you paste it on your NotePad document. Now you have to state your schema markup application, and we have decided to use the type organization. But let's say that we have a more specific type of organization, so we want to use a local business. Maybe we have a restaurant or a fast food. So let's just copy local business, and here we open our type. We use our colon as a separator, and then we state that we are opening a local business schema markup. So let's click on local business reference page. Here you should go over the first column and see what properties apply on your organization. So let's say that you accept multiple currencies. Maybe you are in a tourist area and you accept dollars but also euros. So you just copy and paste this property here. Of course, you use the quotation marks. And then you state the currency. You have to use the standard currency format that you can find on this link, but I can tell you that the code for US dollars is this, and for euros is EUR. You have multiple entries, so you open the brackets and you insert your value here, USD and our here. Easy peasy, right? Then let's go down. You want opening hours, of course, so you copy and paste the property. In the second column, also in this case, you see that there is text. So to understand what to write, you can just read the description in the third column. If you still have doubts on what to write, you can just click on this link, open the tab, go scroll down and see a JSON-LD example, and you can see how other businesses wrote their times. So for example, let's say that you found a format that you would like to use, like this one. You just copy the snippet of code that you are interested in, you go to your document, you just paste it. But then you realize that you are open like office hours, so from 9 to 5:30 p.m. every day, and you are off during the weekend. So how can you edit it? You can just write from Monday to Friday, here from the 9 in the morning to 5:30 p.m. And you don't need this list anymore because you are closed during the weekend. So you can just delete everything else. And you don't have a list anymore, so you can delete also the brackets. You can repeat this process for other properties that you are interested in. I wanted to show you the property address, that is very interesting. Your local business has an address, so you want to include this property in your code. So you do the same thing. But this time you have an expected type, which is a postal address. Instead of just writing the physical address of your store, of your local business, you can be more specific and use this expected type. So just copy postal address and open the link in a new tab. Go back on your document, NotePad, and paste postal address. Here we said that every time that we call a new expected type, we need to use the curly braces. So we need to open a curly brace here because we are calling the postal address expect type. So we write type postal address Now let's see what properties we have in this reference page. So here you have a postal code, it's important. You have a street address, so we want to add them both. Postal code. And for the sake of the video, I will just use this example. Street address, same thing, and you go very fast, you see. In this case I will also here copy this example, but you will insert the address of your business. And let's say that, oh, I could also insert the country, the address country. It's not important, the order, so even if you wrote these properties before the address country, you can always, add it now. So address country here, and let's say that you are located in the US, so USA here. When you're done with all the properties within postal address, you just close this type. So you need to close the curly brace. But remember, this was the last item listed for the type postal address. So you have to remove the comma and add the comma after the curly brace. Now let's go back to the local business reference page and let's go down. So we added address, and we want to add an aggregator rating because we want the review reach snippet appear in the search result. So let's add this property. Let's copy it. Let's add it. Here we have an expected type. So also here we copy the expected type. We paste it here. We see the reference page and we open another curly brace. We recall the type aggregate rating. So type aggregate rating. So here you have two options. You can specify the item reviewed, but if you are inserting the aggregate rating on the organization markup, it is obvious that the aggregate rating refers to your organization. So I will just skip it. The main elements that you need from this list are these: review count, and here there is written that you have to insert the count of total number of reviews. Review count. Let's say that you have 300 reviews. You want to let Google know the best rating that people can give you. And here there is written that best rating is 5 for Google, standard number, unless you state a different number. So let's say that we are using the 5-star system. So we write 5. Then you want to write the worst rating. Also here in the 5-star system is 1. And then rating value, which is, in this case, we are writing an average because it is the aggregate rating. So you can use the average of your overall rating. So let's say that your average is 4.5. You actually don't need other properties from the aggregate rating type, but of course you're free to add whatever it fits your case. When you are done with this section, you close it also here, so you don't add the comma here, but you add the comma after the final curly brace. Again, you go back to the local business page. Another important element for me is a contact point. You can add phone numbers, emails, and whatever you want. But also in this case, a contact point requires an expected type. So you open the curly brace and you copy first, you open a new tab, and then you call the contact point type. For example, if your contact point is a customer service and you have a multi-language customer service available, you can specify the languages available. And if you follow the standard guidelines, you will find the code for each language. Let's say that we have a customer service in English, US English, and in Italian. So the international code is this. And IT for Italian. But this is a list, right? So we have to remember our brackets. Then we have another important element for this property, which is contact type. The contact type specifies the kind of contact point that you have for your organization. So in here you can see that it can be a sales contact point, a PR contact point, and so on. So for this example, we said that we have a customer service, so we copy it, paste it here, and we say that we have a customer service. So customer, and basically you can use whatever text string you want to describe this property. For example, if you have an email, also here you insert the email of the contact point. Example, abc@carniel.com. Well, let's use my actually email address. That's it. And so on. If you need a telephone number, you can write a telephone number. If you have an image or a URL of the customer service website, you can write it, and so on. When you are done adding all the properties, of course, you delete the comma from the last element and you close the curly brace. You go back to the local business reference page and you start searching for other properties to add. So I wanted to show you the logo, which is very important. So if you add an organization markup, you want to be sure to add the logo field. So here you can, if you have a particular artwork, you can use image object expected type, but I mean, if you have just, the logo of your organization, you can just insert the URL of your logo. And in my case, this is the logo, the URL of my logo. Another important property, let's see what you can add, is the geo coordinates. So this is another important point. We already have added the address of your local business, but sometimes Google Map is not so precise when it comes to search for an address. So if you want to be sure that Google doesn't make mistakes, you can add the geo coordinates of your place. This special field is only available of certain categories of organization. So for example, if you use the specific type corporation, you can't use the property geo. but we are using local business, so this property is actually available. You copy geo, you open a new curly braces because you want to call an expected type, which is a geo coordinates. So here you call geo coordinates type. Let's see, so you want to have the latitude and the longitude, basically. So latitude and longitude. How can you see the latitude and longitude of your local business? To do so, you go on Google Maps, so you search Google Maps, you search for your business address. Let's say that your business address is the Art Museum of Philadelphia. You locate the exact position of your business, you place a pin, you will find the coordinate of your business. So you can click on them and you can copy and paste them from here. First number is the latitude and the second number is the longitude. When you're done placing the commas, you go back to geo coordinates and you see if you can add more fields. You can see that in the geo coordinates you still have address, address country, and the same properties of the type address that we inserted before here. So if you want to shrink your code and craft it in a more fashionable way, if you know that you can insert the property geo, you can just insert the address within the property geo instead of adding two different properties like in this case. Now let's say that you have everything you need in your local business schema application and you want to end the code like this. So you can close this type with a curve brace, and then you have to remember that here you open the code with a curve brace, so you want to close it with another curve brace. Here you're closing it, you don't need the comma, and here to end the script, if you don't know how to end the script or if you forget the code, you can go to an example and just copy the end script formula. Now you want to check that you didn't make any mistake. So to do so, you copy your code and you head to structured data tester of the structured data testing tool of Google. Here, where there is written code snippet, you insert your code snippet and then you run test. If the code is right, you will not find any errors or warnings. So let's see where we made mistakes. The review does not have a reviewed item with a name specified, and this error is related to the name of the local business that we didn't put. As you can see, Google wants that you insert certain properties per each type of application. For example, if you use the application local business, you can't not insert the image property, the name property, and the URL. So let's go back to our NotePad document and let's add these missing elements. So let's see the name. We go to the name field. When you have found the name field, you copy it, and you add it to your code. So here you didn't put the comma, but now you want to add another element. So you put the comma, you go to in a new line, you add name, and here you write the name of your business. Let's say, in this case, digital marketing consultant. Digital marketing consultant Alberto Carniel. Another mandatory element was the image of the local business. So you want to insert the field image here. Also here you can use the expect type image object, you know, for the copyright, the author, the creator, and so on. For the sake of the tutorial, I will just insert an URL and I will reuse the image of my logo, but if you have another image, you can use it. And then let's see what we forgot, the URL. So let's add here. URL. So this is the URL of the local business. URL local business. In this case is alberto.carniel.com. Let's see if we need to add something else. Google recommends adding also a price range and a telephone number, so we don't want to disappoint it, and we add also these other two fields that they are not mandatory, but we want to make Google happy, so we will add them anyway. So we go back to our reference page and we will see where price range is. Price range, we will add price range here. Let's say that we have a fast food restaurant, so we are not very expensive. So this scale goes from 1 to 5. We can just place 1 or 2, let's say $2 as a price range. Then let's add the telephone number. So let's find the telephone number. They are in alphabetical order. So here is telephone. And then you write your telephone number. 89, here our telephone number. Now, do we have everything? Does our code work? Let's discover it. So we will select it, copy and paste here in structured data testing tool. We run the test and this time everything is in order. So we have 0 errors, 0 warnings. We are ready to insert it in the HTML of our website. Also, this digital marketing lesson has ended. If you need help to craft your JSON-LD snippets, write them in the comments below and I will reach out with my recommendations. Thank you for watching. Every week I come up with a new digital marketing lesson, so be sure to subscribe to my channel in order not to miss any updates. See you soon.